Now, South African high school graduates are increasingly looking to study abroad. The medical student Abdul Haider recently completed his first year at the University of Central Lancashire. Now, this is part of the Northern Consortium of UK International Foundation Year program, and it opens the door for students like Abdul to apply to renowned universities in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and of course the USA. Now, he speaks to us about his experience so far. Abdul, thank you for joining me this evening. Very exciting, I mean, to study in the UK. It's such a big achievement, I think, first and foremost, to study medicine, and then in a different country is a whole nother, challenge in its own. But maybe tell us about your journey from Mitchell House in Polokwane to becoming a medicine student in the UK.
Well, firstly, thank you so much for the introduction. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been an absolutely amazing journey. I matriculated in 2021 and I decided to become a doctor. I decided to embark upon this journey. I had to complete a 6-month course, as you mentioned, in the IFY, via the IFY course, which took me 6 months. I got my results in August. I then went to University of Central Lancashire in September of 2022. So it's been a journey and a half, but I have embraced it and I have enjoyed it thoroughly, and I'm ready for ready for whatever's to come next. Speaking on my matric year, it's obviously matric. I matriculated from Mitchell House, an IB school. Quite hectic, really. Difficult to get through, but I thankfully did pass matric with flying colors, which did pave the way for me to go on to medicine.
Let's talk about this program, the IFU program. How did you come across it? Was it something your school introduced to you? And how exactly does this work for someone who also an aspiring medicine student like yourself, in matric? You also want to go this route. They're watching now. How did you, become aware of this program, and how can another student like yourself become part of this?
Okay, so the IFY stands for the International Foundation Year. It is a 6-month program offered by NCUK, the Northern Consortium of UK Universities. No, it was not. It was not introduced to me by my school, but rather a mentor, I should say. A good friend of mine knew that I wanted to study medicine abroad, and so we were discussing options, looking at different pathways to study abroad. As you're aware, studying abroad with an NSC certificate from South Africa, it's not really possible. You have to do something else for you to be able to go on to that pathway. It was introduced to me by my friend, so it's basically A-level equivalent. It's an A-level equivalent degree, so universities that require A-levels for you to enter into the university can also accept the IFY course. It's an accelerated degree, so it's really convenient. You go into different pathways if you would like to go into business, IT, or medicine, among many others. And so it's really an amazing opportunity to have that IFY, to have that experience, to have that qualification as you go on to onto university. So it's like A-levels. It's an A-level equivalent degree, but you cover it in a shorter period of time rather than the standard 2 years that required to complete A-levels.
So basically, it's a bridging course, sort of, to study medicine in the UK.
Yes.
And you would say that basically prepared you sufficiently for your first year of studies. How did you find your first year? Was it the workload very intense, or was it something you could handle?
Oh, absolutely. No, it definitely did help me cope with the immense pressures that med students face as they enter their first year, especially the English that was taught in the IFY course certainly helped in terms of research, how to recognize sources, how to evaluate sources from different academia in medicine. It certainly did help. Speaking of the immense workload, it was absolutely hectic. The amount of work, that the content that was thrown at us from day one was a lot. It's an understatement to say. Basically, like a fire hydrant that has been opened onto you, and you're expected to know everything. You're expected to learn everything in a really short amount of time. But I'm glad to say that both Matric and the NCUK have helped me cope with the immense pressures that come with being a medical student. Apart from that, I've tried to have a good social life, as well as have a study work balance that has helped me through year one.
I think, Abdul, a lot of people would also maybe ask the question, why choose the UK, not a South African university? We have good doctors. A lot of our doctors end up, working abroad. They are high in demand in numerous countries across the world. So what was your decision based on?
Oh, absolutely. I have nothing against South African universities. They're absolutely amazing. Just to name a few, we've got WITS, University of Pretoria, Stellenbosch, UCT, University of Cape Town, offering amazing medical programs. And like you mentioned, doctors that graduate from here are highly sought after, especially in first world countries such as the United States of America, as well as England and Australia. Doctors definitely do graduate from here and practice abroad. I did apply for two South African universities, but unfortunately they were all unsuccessful. Um, and so as a result, I looked abroad. I mean, it's the prestige that comes with studying in a UK university, the level of what should I say? Yeah, I think prestige is the better word, that you get from studying abroad. I don't think you get it from here or anywhere else. It's just like I said, have a good respect for South African universities, but the level of education that is abroad is on a much higher level. It just opens much more pathways, the way I see it, if you study abroad.
Mm. And how many schools in South Africa did you actually apply for and you didn't get in?
Oh, so I did apply to UCT, University of Pretoria, Stellenbosch. Unfortunately, all of them were unsuccessful, and the only ones that I did get accepted into were all universities abroad.
Mm.
So yeah.
And tell us about, the culture shock for a South African scholar, basically a matriculant. You matriculated, you leaving your family behind, moving abroad. It must have been a big adjustment for you.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely huge adjustment, and I can say this for a fact that every South African that moves to the UK complains about one thing, and that is the weather. And they're absolutely right. The weather is absolutely horrendous in the UK. It's landscape is absolutely beautiful. I mean, there's a saying amongst our English counterparts. They mentioned that God made England into such a beautiful country, but just put a rainy, tattered sheet over the country. It's always doom and gloomy, and it's
Yeah.
exactly the case like that. So it did definitely uh, it definitely required to get used to the weather, but other than that, it's been absolutely amazing. The people there are welcoming, friendly. They drink a lot. They drink so much.
More than South
The
Africans.
drinking culture is quite a lot. More than South Africans. I'm saying this on South African television. The British drink more than South Africans, and I know this is going to stir so much controversy, but they drink way more than South Africans. In fact, I was having the same discussion with my friend in the gym. They say, no, it's not possible. It's not possible. They cannot drink more than us South Africans. I say, every pub is filled on every night, basically, especially Friday and Saturday nights. It's absolutely hectic. But I think it brings out the better in people. They become really friendly. They're open to different ideas, opinions. They're quite welcoming of different cultures, of different people.
Mm.
Moving away from family, yes, that has been quite tough. You don't realize what you've taken for granted living in your own home, with your mother to cook for you. To be honest, that's one of the main things that I've missed when I went abroad. But when I went into this thing, I knew what I was getting into, and so I was prepared mentally and physically, emotionally. I was prepared to go through everything that year one would throw at me.
And I think, Abdul, just very lastly, any advice for someone who plans to walk in your shoes and follow the same path?
To be honest, I could sit here and just say go for it, and it wouldn't be different. It wouldn't be any different to any other person trying to motivate someone to go for it. I'd say you should tell yourself to definitely go for it. It's quite a long path. It's definitely difficult. You're gonna have to make sacrifices. You're gonna have to give up a lot of things, and you're gonna have to be patient. But the wait is definitely worth it, I'd say. um, Matriculating, doing the bridging course, and then moving onto university. Obviously it's quite, it takes a toll. It takes a toll on you physically, emotionally, as well as mentally, but it's well worth it. It's well worth it once you realize the path that you're on, the amount of lives that you're going to change, and the person that you're going to become at the end of the day, at the end of your journey is highly rewarding. The only thing I can say is I wholeheartedly recommend doing the course and moving on to medicine.
Great. Thank you so much, Abdul, for that conversation. Abdul Haider, now that was a South African medical student now in the UK. He finished his first year in the UK of medicine. He, of course, did the bridging course, the IFY program, the NCUK's IFY program, which is basically a 6-month bridging course. It can take up to 2 years to get your A-levels to study anything in the UK. But this course basically taking you 6 months after you matriculated, and then you could qualify to any university in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the USA, the UK, to then study abroad there in not just medicine, but any other course you are interested in. Very interesting, and it is a way to go when other doors do close for you here in South Africa.